Good evening. Special episode of Reality Check is going to run for 1 hour, and the reason for that is that after all that talk for the Congress party in particular, that they may just have a chance in Gujarat, they may just sneak past the finishing line. Well, the exit polls today seem to have been a bit of a reality check, and the exit polls almost unanimously saying no, that's not going to happen. BJP is also going to win Himachal Pradesh. BJP, in fact, is going to sweep Himachal Pradesh. But that's not been a particular surprise to anybody, least of all to the Congress, which I think has also been expecting that result. Gujarat, perhaps people were in the Congress party were expecting it could be close, but that's not what's happened. I'm going to take you through all the exit polls and just show you what exactly it is that they have said today. Let's start by focusing a bit on Gujarat, and then we have a panel of really great experts who are going to tell us, is this likely to happen and what are the factors behind it and so on and so forth. But first, the exit poll. So Times Now BMR had the BJP at about 113, Congress at 66. Actually, earlier in the evening, they had the BJP a little lower, upped it a little bit, as in fact at Republic TV. They also upped it a little bit as the evening went on. So 111 is what Republic TV and C Voter are now saying that the BJP is going to be getting. Moving on, NewsX, CNN say 110 to 120 for the BJP, so averages out at about 115. Aaj Tak Access My India also has got a midpoint of somewhere in that 106, 107 range, 99 to 113. They're really hedging their bets the most. India TV, 108 to 118. So all of these are more or less in the same range. If you go on to some of the others, you'll see that ABP has 112 to 122 for the BJP. And the next one is Nirmana TV. It's the lowest one of the range so far, 104 for the BJP. 74 for the Congress. The Congress will perhaps hope that that's more like it. But then the outliers on the other side, some 110 to 120. But then you have News Nation, 129 to 133 is what they are saying. And then News 24, today's Chanakya. And this is an interesting one because Chanakya was the only one which really predicted UP and also the 2014 election reasonably accurately. They seem to be going by the premise, which is often happening in elections right now. If you're winning, you're likely to win big. So they are saying 135 for the BJP, a complete landslide, only 47 for the Congress. Now, those are the various polls. Let's do the math of taking a simple mean, taking an average of all of them to see what would the poll of exit polls be. And this is the figure that is coming up. The BJP at 116, so in fact, up one from its tally in 2012. Lower, of course, than that number which would implied got in the 2014 Lok Sabha election, but that's not perhaps a fair comparison. This is probably the fair comparison, and it's 116 as compared to 115 last time. Congress also up. It's up 4 from 2012, but not a number that the Congress would necessarily be very happy with. Himachal, I'm just going to briefly touch upon it. Himachal, complete landslide is being shown by the exit polls. Maybe we can just flash those on the screen as we start talking about it. Total landslide there. That's all of them can just roll. You'll see most of them are saying 45, 50 or thereabouts for the BJP. So a total landslide there. There. All right, let's welcome all of our guests. Chandan Mitra, it's great to have you with us. Senior leader of the BJP. Sagarika is with us. Sandeep Mahapatra, member of the RSS, is with us. Great pleasure to have Shekhar Gupta in with us to tell us whether he thinks this is going to pan out. Together with Yogendra Yadav, who is also with us now, president of Swaraj India, who had a slightly different take on the way he thought these elections were going to be going. And I'm going to ask him whether he's had any occasion to change his mind. Sarmishta Mukherjee, Congress person joining us. And we're getting in Pawan Verma, Rajya Sabha MP of the JDU, to give us his take on where he thinks this would leave national politics as we go forward. But let me just start with Yogendra, if I can. Yogendra, these exit polls seem to be showing a slightly different picture to what CSDS was tending to imply. And you tweeted a couple of days back, and that got a lot of interest, saying that you thought actually the Congress had a really good chance of winning this election in Gujarat. Based on what you have seen so far, would you change your mind, or would you still believe it's still too early to tell?
Vikram, not slightly. I think there's a very significant change. What I said yesterday was based on a broad interpretation of two surveys, both of which seem to indicate that from October to November, there has been very steep decline in BJP's support. Something like 10 percentage point drop was indicated by Times Now, and 6 percentage point was indicated by CSDS. My projection was, if this is the trend, then I would expect it to intensify towards the end and would lead to a negative for BJP. Coupled with the assessment that even a 2 percentage point deficit was enough to wipe out majority for BJP, I had suggested that the likely scenario was that. What do we understand from exit poll? Clearly, that scenario is not playing out. That much is quite clear, because all exit polls indicate a clear majority for BJP. Their percentages vary from 5 percentage lead to 11 percentage point lead. That's a range, but no one is suggesting anywhere close to 0%, which is what I had assumed. So clearly, my assessment is not something which is playing out. This is that assessment was wrong. That's my sense as of now. What we still do not learn from exit polls, and that's why I would wait for the 18th, is number one, exactly the number of seats, because between 5% and 11% is a big margin, and the number of seats would change in a very big way, from anything in the mid-90s to something like 140. Number two, we still do not know the breakup in terms of not just regions but also urban-rural. That's politically salient, because my assumption was that in rural areas there is distress, there is disappointment, there is anger. And that anger would play out in a very significant way, because BJP was already very much on the edge in rural area. In fact, they were already in deficit in 2012. I would wait to know more about it so as to understand what exactly went wrong and how.
All right. So, but as of now, Yogendra, your take would be, based on what we are seeing, all exit polls pointing in one direction, it would be your guess that the BJP is going to win Gujarat and win it relatively comfortably. You know, maybe not that 150 landslide that Amit Shah was hoping for, but comfortably enough, like what happened in 2012, or perhaps a little better than that.
From all the exit polls, it looks that the margin would be 5% or more, and if that is the case, it should be a comfortable majority for BJP. So, it's in the point today, once exit polls arrive, the point is not to quarrel with numbers, but to learn from those numbers, and those numbers tell people like me that our assessment was not correct.
All right, Sarmit Shah, let me just get you in on that point, because yes, the point on vote share, and I'm just going to take you through it. If you look at the various exit polls, 48 to 41, 47 to 43, 45 to 43, 47 to 42, most of them are giving the BJP at least 3 to 4 percentage point gap, which is significant, especially in a two-corner contest. Sarmit Shah, what would be the lesson that you are taking? We'll come to the broader factors and what was behind the campaign and what does this mean for the BJP and the Congress, but just the numbers based on the exit polls. Would the Congress have been really hoping that you could win Gujarat, or was your target always to try and get close, to narrow the margin, to try and get to something like 80 or something like that, 80, 85, and say, look, we've really been able to push the BJP into a tough fight in its strongest stronghold?
Well, first of all, let me say that these exit polls, they could be really misleading. Because we have seen earlier in many instances, for example, in Punjab, everybody was saying that Congress and AAP are neck to neck. But whereas we won 77, they won 20. Similarly, in Bihar, I don't think any exit poll gave the Grand Alliance more than 130, whereas the Grand Alliance, it landed up with 178. So there could be major variations. And secondly, especially in Gujarat, there would be a large number of very silent population who would not, for various reasons, pretty obvious, I don't need to state those, but they would not like to participate in the exit polls, and even if they do, sometimes they would deliberately not say the right thing. So I think on 18th, I would still like to believe that yes, we are in for a surprise. But let's also say, if we take these exit polls as it is, even in terms of that, you have to see it in the perspective of that Gujarat being the home state of the Prime Minister and Mr. Amit Shah, the BJP state president, and their combination is supposed to be absolutely invincible. And Mr. Modi is supposed to be the big brand. And we have seen that, how they have left no stones unturned, including, getting the political discourse to such a level, to such a low level, that terming, no, please, let me complete.
Yeah.
So the issue is that despite everything, and if you remember that in 2014 in Lok Sabha, from Gujarat, their vote share was 60%.
Aren't you clutching
Now,
at
even
straws
if
a
these
little
numbers
bit,
are
Sarmisha,
correct,
out here?
so
Because
see,
at the
it is
end of the
actually
day,
a big loss for them in terms of
pulling
vote
out
share
all the stops,
and in terms of
pulling
probably
out all
also
the stops,
number
Sarmisha,
of
is something.
seats.
Pulling out all the stops is something that a political party is supposed to do. You're supposed to try and win elections. You should want to win elections. So if you're pulling out all stops, it's fine. You could argue that did they go too far in some of the statements that were made, notably about the former Prime Minister and others, and that is a debate that we'll come to.
Yes, we are saying that
did they cross a line somewhere? That's a valid point. We will come and debate that in a moment.
Of decency.
But 116, if they get 116, then you're clutching at straws a bit to say that in some way that's a moral defeat. Shekhar, let me just get you in on this. First, on the point of the numbers themselves.
I don't agree at all that they are going to get 116.
Okay, fair enough. We know the answer to that in just 2 or 3 days' time. Yeah, Shekhar, I don't want to get you in on this. It's a point actually Sagarika was making earlier in the day also. Do you agree with what she's saying that Gujarat being Gujarat, strong BJP stronghold, maybe people are somewhat hesitant to come out and actually say whom they are voting for. So don't entirely go by exit polls. Normally, all exit polls pointing in a certain direction in such a strong manner, you would tend to say that they are unlikely that all of them have got it wrong. But she's saying maybe there is a systematic bias that people aren't willing to come out and say we're not voting for the BJP in Narendra Modi and Amit Shah's own state.
Well, it's possible, and I've learned from experience not to start doling out wisdom based on exit polls. The other thing I will tell you, just it's a fact.
Actually, we should probably, even on the day of the counting, sometimes you don't quite know.
In so many years of traveling through elections, so many years of traveling through every election, I have never met a pollster. I have never met anybody in a village or in a city or any place who says, I met a pollster, somebody brought me a form. I don't know where these polls are done. I'm sorry, NDTV has been doing these polls, but I've never met in my life anybody who filled a poll.
It's like PRPs. Have you ever met anybody who has a people meter in their home?
Well, have you met anyone who has
knows anybody who's known anybody who knows anybody who has a people meter in their home?
So this may be right, this may be wrong. I think this looks like sort of realistic and safe projection. So let's go with it, but not debate exit polls and whether people come out and speak the truth or not. The fact is that 2014 BJP was 22% ahead. I mean, it needs a revolution. It needs a miracle to cover that. So my view is very simple on Gujarat. If the opening score of vote share is 2012, Congress had a chance. That is a 7% gap. But if the opening score is 2014, there is no chance. In 3 years, even Rajiv Gandhi to lose power took 5 years. Right? In 3 years, it doesn't happen like that.
Chandan, can I just ask you before I come to Sagarika on that point itself? What do you think the baseline should be? And to a certain extent, Amit Shah also set the bar really high by saying 150. 150 means you're assuming that 2014 is going to be the base. You're going to build from that, and it's going to be that sort of a landslide. It's great for whipping up the cadres and getting them to go, as we were discussing just a few days back. But the flip side of that is, there's always a chance of disappointment. If let's say the BJP ends up with, let's say 105, not 170, but 105, let's say 100, 105, many may feel that it's a victory, but it's a disappointing victory. It's too close.
You see, a miss is as good as a mile, as I've been saying this before, and that is the case. So once the Congress has been defeated and defeated decisively, I think first 1 or 2 days, there is a bit of kind of disappointment that in the BJP that President had said 150, we worked very hard for that, but if it is not 150, at least, it should have been close to 130, 35, 40. If that also doesn't happen, but still BJP has won 6th time in a row.
Remarkable.
So I think that is...
In fact, Congress has not won in Gujarat since 1985.
So
it's exactly 32 years.
So this is the strongest...
Vaghela came from somewhere else.
I think it's also important to remember it's also important to remember that the extent of the challenge in Gujarat, which has to be kept in mind. So, one, Sagarika, the extent of the challenge, and B, the issue which we were talking about a little earlier in the evening, about people being somewhat reluctant to come out and say it. Would you tend to doubt the exit polls on that factor, or do you think 9 out of 9 are not likely to be wrong?
Look, all the journalists who went there, I went there for 10 days, I traveled everywhere. I mean, I traveled everywhere, I'm saying I traveled most places, and I found lots and lots of angry people. What happened to those angry people? Maybe the angry people are so angry, they just stayed at home, they didn't come out to vote. And or in the end, when the Prime Minister landed on the 27th, actually the whole election changed, because the Congress was actually fighting a good election. It was actually quite a wonderful campaign. It was real. Rahul Gandhi, we saw a different Rahul Gandhi. He was on the road, he was Belgari, he was talking to people. And they were setting the agenda. But when the Prime Minister landed on the 27th of November, everything changed. Neech Aadmi, the Congress panicked. The discourse completely changed. It became about Modi. And no Gujarati in the privacy, I mean, very few Gujaratis in the privacy of the polling booth will vote against Narendra Modi. You know, there is an organic connection.
And that's what it became.
But remember, that's what it became. But remember what happened in Delhi 2015. The exit polls all got the Aam Aadmi Party wrong. Yeah. And in fact, the Aam Aadmi Party got the 67-seat haul. So I think in that way, we have to still hedge our bets. I also think that, the win is a win argument. I think if the BJP falls below 100, it's a psychological defeat. If the Congress goes above 80, even if it doesn't form the government, it is a bit of a winning of the narrative.
I think we have to correct numbers. Not your numbers, but generally. Congress is not beginning this election with 56. Congress is beginning this election with about 40, because about 15 of them had defected. So I think anything over 65 in a state like Gujarat for Congress, frankly, is a plus.
Should the Congress be relieved, whatever the number is? I'm going to turn my attention to that. But Yogendra, while we still have you, what is the possibility of all these exit polls getting it wrong? As Sagarika points out, it's not that it hasn't happened. As Sir Mishra was saying, it is possible that in Gujarat people are reluctant to come out and say, to any exit pollster that, yes, we voted against Narendra Modi, in his own state. Could there be that factor, or is it unlikely?
I would say rather unlikely, though you can't rule it out. Unfortunately, our exit polls and polling has not reached that standard where we can be 100% sure. And do remember, they all went wrong in the case of Donald Trump as well. So all over the world, there is that element of risk. But I would say the possibility of variation is more about the number of seats being projected, because that is actually more of a variable and we actually don't have a good hold on that. Yeah. But if every exit poll shows a percentage of 5 to 10 percentage point lead for BJP, it would be very surprising to me. As indeed has been the exit polls of today for me, if all the polls were turned out to be wrong. I don't think this particular, I don't think it's in Gujarat there's something very specific that they would all, give us wrong answers, especially in exit polls and post polls. Exit polls and post polls, people tend to be less fearful. They tend to give correct answers. So I think that possibility is rather low.
Okay, so let's assume then, for the sake of argument, that the exit polls are correct, which means the BJP is winning Gujarat and the BJP is winning Himachal Pradesh. Let me get Pawan and Sandeep in and throw it to all of you. What is the implication of that, therefore, for national politics? Because, look, the Congress party may say, we tried, we fought really hard, we came really close in Gujarat, we got the Prime Minister worried, he had to go and camp out there. Sir Mishra was saying he had to make a lot of, and the discourse really got worse, and BJP had to fight to hold on to its stronghold. All of those would be valid points. But let's just take a look now at what's happened in state elections in 2017. On New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, as Narendra Modi and Amit Shah are sitting back, putting their feet up, perhaps for one evening. We don't know if they ever do that, even one evening, New Year's Eve, if they put their feet up.
But if they take time off.
Yeah, if they ever take time off. If they were putting their feet up on New Year's Eve, they'd say, what happened in 2017? This is the picture they'd see. Uttar Pradesh, the BJP won that state. Let's carry on. What happened after that? State after state, whether it is in Uttarakhand, obviously the BJP won. Punjab, the Congress won, which is one state which the Congress will hold on to. Goa, Manipur, well, BJP formed the government. The Congress could say, oh, well, actually we had won, but the BJP formed the government. That's what it was. Manipur, the BJP formed the government. And now, if you're having a situation where Gujarat also, the BJP is winning, and Himachal Pradesh, the BJP is winning, all in all, perhaps Narendra Modi and Amit Shah would say another very satisfactory year for us and for the BJP's election machine. Pawan Verma, would that be a fair assessment?
Well, let me say, Vikram, that exit polls can be right and be wrong. Somebody mentioned Bihar recently, and we was surprised at how wrong the exit polls were. In fact, one of the rather respected surveyors had said that the BJP is getting 155, whereas they got below 50 and the Mahagathbandhan got 178. But I am not discounting the exit polls. For me, since you're asking this question in the context of national politics, there are three takeaways. Firstly, I expect the BJP to win in Gujarat because, as it was mentioned, it is the state of the Prime Minister and the BJP party president. And that carries a momentum where even if the voter is angry, there is a sense of loyalty. There can be anger, but that can be overtaken by other aspects which are important. It's a stronghold of the BJP for very obvious reasons.
Right.
But the three takeaways I want to mention as a debating point on your show today is that this election shows, first of all, that the BJP in its campaigning, in my view, as a citizen, has fallen to a new low. The constant attempt to use religion as a polarizing card, which they have used in previous elections, came to the fore in this election, whether it was in the jibe of Khilji ki Aulad, Aurangzeb, Babar Bhakt, the insinuation of Ahmed Patel as Chief Minister on the testimony of a retired general, and last of all, but not the least, the accusation of a former Prime Minister conspiring with Pakistan to defeat the BJP in Gujarat, the whole debate about whether Mr. Rahul Gandhi is a Hindu or not. The point number one, Vikas was thrown out of the window. It became a straightforward fight at a new low at religious polarization. That's point number one.
Can I just ask you on point number one, Pavan Verma, if you and others feel so strongly about it, then could an election campaign like this, they're theoretically, I mean, they're not theoretically, they are your allies at the end of the day. So is it something which you intend to raise then in a longer way, in a stronger way in the next 1 year, or are we going to see this all the way up to 2019? And if you are going to see it, what are you going to do about it?
I think that, I think whether parties raise it or not, the people of India are going to see through it if other governance parameters are not met, or if there is such a gulf between promise and delivery. You cannot continue to play the card continuously. So now coming to point number two.
No, hang on. Shekhar, I'm just going to pause you. I mean, sorry, I'm calling Shekhar. Pavan, I'm going to pause you just for a minute. I'll come to the other points in a couple of minutes. Yeah, one sec. I have to slip into a very quick break. I know Yogendra is going to be leaving us. I'm going to come to your other 2 points in just 2 minutes. You raised an interesting point. I want to discuss it. I know Yogendra has to leave us and I have to go into a break right now. So Yogendra, quick one-line response to what you've just heard from Pavan. Would you agree with what he said?
7-3. Results apart, whoever wins, and possibly BJP is winning, there is something very dangerous that we have seen here. And if this kind of rhetoric is seen to be winning election, this is an open signal to everyone in the country. Go, divide and win. If this is the run-up to 2019, then God help our country.
Okay, I am going to slip into a break, but that's what I think we should spend the next half an hour discussing. A, what is the implication of this from the point of view of national politics? Which way are we going? And what Pavan has just said and Yogendra just said, is that the way it's really going to pan out? I'm going to get Shekhar and Sandeep and others to come in and weigh in on this. Is that a fair way of looking at it? Is it not a fair way of looking at it? Because something else was said today, by the way, which also merits a certain amount of examination. You had the Congress party coming out and saying that institutions, including the Election Commission, an institution which has been sacrosanct for quite some time, has actually played a partisan role. Is that a fair accusation to make? We'll turn our attention to that too when we come back after this break. Right, welcome back. Just before we went into a break, in case you're wondering what the exit polls are saying, it's really clear. The BJP seems to be absolutely sweeping Himachal Pradesh with a landslide, and all exit polls are unanimous that the BJP is winning Gujarat and winning it fairly comfortably. You know, about 116 seats, one up from last time. So that's what the exit polls are saying. Just before we went into the break, Pawan Verma came out and said that may well be the case, but we need to worry about some of the tactics that were used to deliver that particular result. And some of the language that was used and the rhetoric that was used is disturbing. And if that's what's going to happen in the next 1 year, the country is heading for a dangerous place. Yogendra Yadav more or less echoed that. Chandan, Sandeep, I want to turn to you. How would you respond to what Pawan Verma said?
This is really fear-mongering by Mr. Pawan Verma, who I don't know, where is he nowadays? Which party is he nowadays?
He's with the JDU.
He's the JDU, which is an ally of yours. You should be concerned about it.
Which is your ally.
Yeah, but this is not the language of an ally. So that's why I was wondering.
Allies can disagree with you, by the way. Aditya Thackeray today made remarks.
Allies
also.
can be critical. You just look at the Shiv Sena.
No, that's okay. But I thought I would have credited you with more intellect than some other allies you are mentioning.
Well, if I don't disagree with you, it doesn't make me unintellectual, Chandan.
No, I didn't say
Chandan, did you just call the Shiv Sena unintellectual?
Of a conspiracy.
You just said that.
I said like some of the other allies.
Which are some of the allies you're saying are not as intellectual as Pawan Verma? But I'm trying to get you into trouble now.
No, yes, you are.
But in Gujarat, the JDU is allied with the Congress.
But
there you are, JDU, yes, that's
the Chotu Wasawa, the savior of Mr. Ahmed Patel.
No, there's another Chotu Wasawa. I'm not getting into that.
That's a different Chotu Wasawa.
There are lots of Chotu Wasawas.
Many Chotu Wasawas.
Okay,
anyway,
but
so
hang on a
clone. I wanted to make 2 points, other points, Vikram.
Yeah. Pawan, I'm focusing on this one point of yours first, because we won't have time to get into all the points. So, Sandeep,
Vikram,
respond to the substantive point.
Yeah, I'm responding to it. Mr. Verma, please allow me.
Pawan.
You may not agree with what I say, but the point that I want to make it in your show is that, look, this kind of fear-mongering, and the right word that Mr. Mitra has used, has been going on since 2014. Before the 2015 elections in Bihar, you had a narrative of intolerance being built up. Just after 2014 elections, when Mr. Modi came up with the largest majority in 3 decades, the fear-mongering was that the minorities are not safe. Some attacks on the churches were shown to be the benchmark. Later on, those attacks were found to be by some miscreants. So this kind of fear-mongering or this kind of mindset or this kind of narrative is not going to do any good to this country. Please remember, please respect the mandate that is being given by the people of this country. Elections after elections, be it UP, be it any other place. So to say that if this happens, our country will go into an abyss is a totally wrong thing to say, Mr. Verma, and this is not expected of you.
Yeah, let me just get Pawan to finish what he was saying. Pawan, you want to I promise I'm going to come to you. Pawan, you want to finish what you were saying, including your other 2 points, and I'm going to get Shekhar in and Sarmisha, who I have to get her to react to what you said as well. Pawan, finish what you were saying.
You want me to make the next 2 points very quickly?
Very quickly.
First of all, as I said, the BJP in its campaigning hit a new low, which is very unfortunate given the fact that it was well placed in Gujarat. Secondly, I think we are seeing in a way a change of image of the Congress party. The Congress party under Mr. Rahul Gandhi, I think the way I saw it, won far more support than the manner in which he was disdainfully dismissed by the BJP in the past. And he showed humility, he showed decorum, he showed the ability for course correction and to take decisive action when people like Mr. Manishankar used language which was inappropriate. So that's the second takeaway. And the third takeaway, which worries me a lot, Vikram, and which should be discussed, is the corrosion of institutions like the Election Commission, which we would all like to respect, have respected in the past. But the impartiality has to be seen. And we have no answers yet to the manner in which it has behaved in this election. Why were the dates for Gujarat postponed by a week?
Okay.
Why was the road show today that was held? There was nothing short of a road show. That happens. And the Election Commission doesn't take suo motu cognizance of it.
Okay. JDU being an ally of the BJP, I am now going to get Sarmisha to respond, who would probably respond to what you said, Pawan, by saying, I agree with all of the above. Sanmishra, how would you respond to what Pawan Verma has said?
Pawan joining the Congress soon.
Well, we'll ask him that also.
Yes, what I would like to add on to Mr. Pawan Verma, that last night Congress delegations went and petitioned the Election Commission. On an interview of Mr. Rahul Gandhi, he was sent a notice and also FIR were lodged against the news channels for telecasting his interview. But on that very day, yesterday, Mr. Piyush Goyal in Gujarat held 2 press conferences, and Mr. Amit Shah had a press conference in Ahmedabad airport, which is a government property, and you are not supposed to use any public property for any kind of poll campaigning.
Okay.
But there was no such notice issued to them. The channels which aired those press conferences, nothing has been done. So this is a blatant partiality. Why such double standard? And
Okay.
today Mr. Modi held the road show, but nothing. I mean, we
Okay.
went and complained.
I heard you.
Mr. Verma said that
I
Election Commission
heard
should
you.
have taken
Sharmisha, I heard you.
cognizance
I heard
of
you.
it.
I'm going to get.
But we went and complained also, but still the Election Commission did not listen to us.
Okay, so Chandan, Pawan Verma, who's an ally of yours, has just made 3 really important marks that BJP's campaign hit a new low. Institutions have been subverted, and notably the Election Commission, which is the first time that that's happened. I mean, I don't have to paraphrase, you heard him. How would you respond to those charges? And especially the subversion of the Election Commission is a scary accusation, because the Election Commission is an institution we've all come to respect a lot in the last couple of decades.
For a would-be or very shortly to be congressman like Mr. Pawan Verma, he has echoed the views that have been.
Pawan, I'm going to give you a chance to respond to that. He's saying a would-be congressman like Pawan Verma.
A what?
Chandan says that your views are those of a would-be congressman.
A soon would be.
A soon would-be congressman.
Or want to be.
No, I'm allowing you to respond to that.
The problem, Vikram, is, I want to respond very quickly to say that the problem with the BJP leadership, not necessarily with the BJP is, and Chandan is a friend, is that they have got unused to hearing voices which are introspective, critical, or in dissent. And I can say to you, I know the top BJP leadership was as shocked by the Prime Minister's allegation that a former Prime Minister and a former Vice President and a former Chief of Armed Staff are actually conspiring with Pakistan to sabotage the BJP's chances of an election in a state like Gujarat. How can you make a statement like that from a public forum? Okay. I would say that Mr. Chandan Mitra, instead of getting into a reflex defense mode, should be introspective enough to know that winnability is not the only criteria for elections. You cannot finesse credibility and ethics in politics.
Okay, Shekhar, you want to come in on this?
I wanted to respond, but I'll do that later, because otherwise it just become a kind of.
Okay, I'm going to get Shekhar. Let me come in this. I'll get all of you to respond to what Pawan has said. Discourse hitting a new low, questions on the Election Commission for the first time. Has a lot happened in the last few days, which is frankly disturbing.
Well, I think the discourse bar has been set much lower, not today, but about 5-6 years back. And it's gotten lower. There is a pattern to it. On the last.
Since Maut Ka Saudagar?
Yep.
Yes, that was.
That is when the bar was really lowered.
Okay, Maut Ka Saudagar was a low, and there have been many lows after that. Nobody has tried to lift it. As I said, I think maybe I wrote it some time back, that today's politics, there are no elder statesmen who can calm things down. There is no Mr. Advani, there is no Vajpayee, Murli Manohar Joshi on this side. There is no Pranab Mukherjee on the other side, who can, in spite of a broken parliament, can go across to the other side and get things done. This is a very broken politics.
But Shekhar, can I just also amplify that question a little further? It's also possible that this is what it takes to win elections. Like, for example, people sometimes say, why are news channels doing X, Y, Z? That's what it takes to get TRPs, right?
Well, I mean,
it's the same sort of
But
an
do the ends justify the means?
but
I mean, are
that's
we
the
saying
question.
that's the
I think
overturning Gandhian precepts?
each one has his own tactics, right? It works for Mr. Modi. He has a very coarse and very direct style. It also works very well in Gujarat, much better than elsewhere. in the history of India, no state leader identified ethnically with a state has ever been Prime Minister of India. Nehru was not the leader of Kashmir. He was not seen as a Kashmiri. Indira was not seen from UP wala. Rajiv not. So he is a Gujarati. He says what impresses his Gujarati voters, and it really does. So, having said that,
so the tactics are working.
But having said that, this is not the only way to win elections.
What is to be done to win elections? I mean, are we going to condone anything if we win elections?
Yeah, how can you, can you dictate what you should say to win?
Let me complete what I am saying. Nitish won an election with a large majority without using any of this. Amrinder won an election with a very large majority without using any of this. So to each one his own. Each one has style.
Let me get everyone else
there is
to
a
weigh
bit of an irony here when we are talking about the discourse being set low. There was one particular politician, and he is the Chief Minister of Delhi. When he said that "Sab chor hai ji," that was applauded. Do you think that that was the kind of discourse that we as
voters
were not
applauding that? Some
no,
of us were not
many people applauded that. Look, the context
in
context in which Mr. Modi spoke about everything has to be seen. There was a maut ka sauda agar. Then in 2017, this year itself, Modi ji was blamed or was labeled as somebody who was doing khun ka sauda or something like that. Dalali. So those kind of things are going on. So at that point in time, nobody questions why it is that when Modi ji raises his point, that is being questioned by everyone. Okay. And the context in is the entire meeting.
If you're not questioning A, should you not question B? That's classic debate. Sagrika, Pawan, I'm just about to come back to you, Sagrika.
I just think that this argument, I just think this argument of, we need to win elections and therefore anything goes is deeply dangerous, because what else are we going to do to win elections?
Then ask questions to Congress also. Why Janeudhari? Why Janeudhari Hindu? Why Sivabak? If you are going after Vikas, then why your narrative change?
I also think one more thing.
That's a fair point.
Should you
look? Obviously, this is a larger debate that has to be debated, rather than harping on this point.
Hasn't the invincibility of Mr. Narendra Modi taken a bit of a beating?
That is an argument given after every election. That is an argument that was given in 2015. We saw what happened in 2017.
I've seen hashtags this evening.
Sandeep,
please.
He's had to work so hard. He's had to work so hard. No, one second.
Sagrika, working hard at winning an election is not necessarily...
No, but look at what he's had to do.
Working hard to win an election is not bad.
He's had to compromise on his Vikas Purush identity.
He's had to Modi ji says
nobody can hear anybody.
He's had to really...
He's a Karyakarta. And he does whatever he does with all intent and 100%, be it the Prime Minister or be it a campaign of a BJP. So what is wrong in that?
Actually, as a Prime
wrong in that?
No, hang on.
You want Modi ji to be like another Manmohan Singh?
Pause. As a Prime Minister
of India, he's a constitutional functionary.
As a Prime Minister, he can't function exactly like a Karyakarta. I'm sure Chandan will agree. As a Prime Minister, there are certain things he can't say because he's the Prime Minister.
And really speak a language that he shouldn't be speaking as Prime Minister.
Yeah, but this is the problem. The wish fulfillment of a certain section of this, left.
That's crazy.
Society.
I mean, the kind of...
I'm not saying it. Why are you reacting?
Because you're gesturing in my direction.
No.
He could be gesturing at Sandeep Paul, That same general
maybe he's
direction. Or maybe Shekhar. The gesture will reach all over there.
Okay. That Modi's invincibility will keep going down day by day by day.
I won't be called left by anybody, I guarantee you.
Yeah, that's also
true. Nor am I left.
I was calling her.
Yeah, I told you he was gesturing at me.
But you reacted even before you had a chance.
Because you were pointing.
No, I didn't.
In fact, I hyphenated nothing.
Okay, can we carry
but
on?
Anyway, what I said, that they have been hoping for this, that the invincibility will be that. But in the meantime, as you just said, he's gone on to win election after election after election.
Okay, and that brings me to the final point we should try and address. And again, Pawan Verma had mentioned it, that he said that this election, the other big national trend that emerges from this is Rahul Gandhi coming into his own. And I want to get everyone else to weigh in on this, because this may well have been the best campaign that Rahul Gandhi has ever done.
Yeah.
And I've even seen Chandan nodding his head on that. But again, people will ask the question on winnability, because at some point, it has to translate into winning at least one state somewhere along the way. Look at that track record. I'm going to put it up again. State after state after state is being won by the BJP. So for Rahul Gandhi, the acid test will come. You could be the greatest captain of an Indian cricket team or the greatest batsman or the bowler, but if you're going to lose every single match, then there's going to be a question. Shekhar, is that a fair comment to make?
Yes, it's a fair comment to make, and also there are tactical issues. What was the Gujarat election? Gujarat election was Congress trying to say this is not about Mr. Modi, this is about economic distress. If you ask people in Gujarat, there was economic distress. Most people, the big difference this time was the people in Gujarat were complaining.
Yeah.
Mr. Modi's tactics was, or strategy was, to make it about himself. That forget all this, will you vote against me or for me?
And
by camping there for 3 months, Rahul Gandhi being there without choosing a local leader, I think they walked into the tactics of this becoming Rahul versus Modi. Now, Rahul versus Modi, you start with a very big disadvantage. Because who are you voting for? Are you voting for Rahul against Modi?
And in Gujarat, asking the Gujaratis to say pick Rahul instead of Modi.
Exactly.
And Amit Shah, both of whom are.
But having said that, this was the first campaign which Rahul led from beginning till the end.
Pavan is trying to come in and say something inside Amit Shah. Yeah, Pavan, what were you saying?
I'm saying there's an interesting pointer here, Vikram, and that is that while the decks were loaded in favor of Mr. Narendra Modi as the son of the soil and he's the Prime Minister of the country, there's an umbilical emotional cord that Gujarat has with Mr. Narendra Modi. In spite of that, because of governance deficit, there was enough discontent in Gujarat for Mr. Rahul Gandhi to get a traction which he, I think, has not gone, as you yourself said, in previous elections, and which he played well. There was course correction on the tag of appeasement. There was humility. If he made a wrong tweet, he said, I'm sorry, I'll correct it. If there was, he said from a public platform, please don't use abusive language as a response to BJP provocation. On many occasions, including the quick action against Mr. Manishankar Iyer for language which he thought was inappropriate. There were many issues on which you see a change. So Mr. Narendra Modi is still very, very powerful, eloquent, and still probably the first choice of the country and the Prime Minister. But the BJP should not, and I would advise them, take things for granted, because you begin to see the beginnings of a change.
When it comes to elections, I don't think the BJP ever takes
well,
anything
I think I will say this. That having travelled in every election in Gujarat for more than 20 years now, it was the first time, or let's say from 2002, the first time when you could see clumps of young people in places being very critical of the government, including Mr. Modi. But Mr. Modi is your own. If you look at some of the data, underlying data in the India Today exit poll, which I think some of it has been posted, the only age group in which Congress party outscores the BJP in exit polls is 18 to 25. The age group where BJP completely wipes out the Congress is 60 plus, the Fox News demographics. But younger people, 18 to 25, it's important.
That's an interesting trend. That might,
because there will be more elections going ahead.
So that's an interesting. That's an interesting point and an interesting thing. Which do you think there's reasons to worry about for the BJP? He's saying that Rahul Gandhi has reinvented himself. Would you agree with that, by the way? This has been the best.
Done well. Look, let me say without hesitation that Mr. Rahul Gandhi performed well this time, and unlike the past where he was hesitant, he was not connecting at all. I think he put in a lot of effort and he connected, which may not reflect in this time's result, but surely pay some dividends in the long run. But when you say that 18 to 25, there is any reason to worry, I can tell you, let them mature, they will all start voting BJP.
I want to say something related to this.
You don't diss young people like that, be careful.
I want to say something related to this. I think one thing to celebrate from the Gujarat elections is, this 18 to 23 age group is the rebirth of irreverence on social media. Social media, the social media, no, it hasn't been irreverent. It has been taken over by the army of a certain political party. But now I think we're seeing a kind of irreverence, a kind of ebullience.
The troll army is
there is something to celebrate there.
There is another change. I think now, having been in power for 3.5 years, BJP is no longer seen as the underdog. So it has lost the underdog advantage.
Okay, Sandeep, then I want to go to Sandeep.
Social media is the medium of the underdog.
But also the fear of Modi.
It is all fair and good to say that Rahul Gandhi has invented himself in this election, but I have a different take. Had he stuck to his point of Vikas, one would have thought, and he would have, if he is going to deliver, then I would agree to that point. But see the narrative that changed. It started with Vikas, then it became a caste coalition where a Patidar and a Dalit and another, upper caste is brought in together. The point remains to be seen, Bikram, is that in the many very elections that has been fought in this country, Congress party has been piggybacking on other parties, be it the JDU and all the alliances, be it SP in UP, now with Hardik Patel and co in Gujarat. So to say that Rahul Gandhi has invented or reinvented himself in the Gujarat poll would be a misnomer at this stage, I would say.
Okay, Sharmisha, let me turn to you. What do you think would be some of the lessons that the Congress would take from this? Assuming the results are correct, better performance including by Rahul Gandhi, would the Congress take heart from it, or would you say at the end of the day you're losing 2 more states if this is correct?
Well, two things I would just like to say. That firstly, I would like, even if the results are correct, but I think BJP has to worry about it, because it's not just, it's just increasing. I mean, according to this, it's seat by 1. And the vote share, which was 60% in 2014, it has now come down, according to this, about maybe between 45 to 47%. So that's a huge loss. And this is in the home state of the Prime Minister and the BJP party president. Secondly, as far as Rahul Gandhi is concerned, he has definitely set the agenda. He has set a narrative for the party that, what is the way, what is going to be the strategy in which we are going to fight the election. It is going to be on development, it is going to be on rural distress, it is going to be on the on unemployment, it is going to be on the lack of development. So we are completely moving away from this polarization tactics, and people of the country, people of Gujarat, on the 18th, I am definite, that they are going to come and they are going to give a very befitting answer to Prime Minister's different kind of both polarizing and also, bringing down the political discourse so low that the people of Gujarat, they are going to answer for it. And our whole strategy had been, that Mr. Gandhi had been asking Mr. Modi, who used to talk about the Gujarat model of development, but he has developed.
All right, Sharmisha, we heard you. Sharmisha, we heard you. The elections are over.
He had been asking questions on development.
One line.
Elections are over. Voting is finished. Now we know what's going to happen. We know what the exit polls are saying. And by the way, not just the elections over. This program is over as well. We are out of time right now. So thank you all so much for joining us.
I have one line to say.
Yeah, one line, Pavan. That's all I have time for.
I'll say to Chandan, my good friend, that there are limitations to visceral politics which only appeal to emotion if there is a governance deficit. If there are no jobs,
one line over. Chandan, one line reply.
Prices are going up. You can't keep on doing this kind of coarse cynicism.
BJP, as he just said, you should go and tell them who can advise the Prime Minister.
Okay,
so that's what he should do instead of discussing it in a TV debate.
Well, actually, all right, fine. So
I'm doing it through you, Chandan.
We not have sounded that way in this program, but theoretically you're allies, so you can, I'm sure, find other ways to have that.
Are you complaining?
I'm not complaining. Fine, this is a perfect platform for you.
Never this good copy.
Yeah, I know, but the time on this program is over. So now I'm saying, okay, now you can talk about it
elsewhere.
It could be
breaking
now
news.
I haven't been complaining.
It could be breaking news, Vikram.
Yeah, but unfortunately this program is over. So I'm going to call them both back, perhaps, in a couple of days, and we can continue this discussion. How the JDU and the BJP can work together.
After he joins the Congress or before he does that?
Are you joining the Congress, Pavan? He said it 8 times in his program.
Vikram, कहता हूँ सच की झूठ की आदत नहीं मुझे.
All right, fine. On that rather poetic note, I'm going to have to call it a pause right there for the moment. In case you're wondering what the exit polls are saying, they are saying the BJP is winning both Gujarat and Himachal. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.